find myself in the boardroom having a conversation with someone who I enjoy working with, and we've been working together for how long? How long have we been working together for?
I've been working here since 2009. So,
2009?
Yeah, so I think this year is the 13th year.
13th year. So, SeungMi, I should have introduced you. How rude of me. Who am I talking to? Who's this person?
Hello. Hello, students and parents. I'm SeungMi.
And what do you do at the school, SeungMi?
My main role is admissions manager here, admissions and marketing manager. So I normally meet new parents, prospective parents and students, and I answer to their questions. Most of our prospective parents, they have many questions about school.
They do, and part of the reason for me wanting to have a conversation with you, because you were dying with embarrassment when I said I need to interview. No, I said no, I have to, and the reason is, I would reckon you would have met and talked with nearly every child in the school. That's and correct. Their parents.
Yeah, that's correct.
And there wouldn't be, apart from maybe the principal or the head of the school, there wouldn't be anybody else in the school that has got the privilege of doing that.
Right.
You've met every child in this school.
That's correct.
How do you find that? Like that's amazing. From the 2 and 3 year olds all the way up to the 18-year-olds.
Right. I mean, but most of my time I normally talk to parents. But of course, whenever we interview students or whenever we have students and parents visit, of course, I also meet a lot of students too. So I think that's really, how can I say, it's a great experience. It's because our students and parents are from all over the world. And not only parents can speak English, but also sometimes, of course, parents, we have Korean parents and students.
Of course.
But we also have students from China, Japan, Spain, whereas
yes,
Germany.
I mean, European countries, South American countries from all over the world. So you're dealing with dozens and dozens of countries, dozens of cultural differences between here and wherever they're coming from.
Right.
You have to move in the most amazing circles. You have to adjust your cultural understanding of parents, of expectations, of schools, of kids. I mean, that must be very demanding. Is that a challenge for you? Is that difficult for you?
No, actually, I'm actually enjoying that. It's because basically parents are same, I think.
Yeah, okay.
They want to find the best school for their children. So that's why, of course, there are different cultural difference. But basically, I think parents are the same. So they just want to know and find the best school for their children.
Yeah. But one of your great strengths, because you haven't always been, like, what's your academic background? Because your ability to translate, it just floors me. I mean, I can be sitting in here with a meeting with Korean parents, and your ability to translate is phenomenal, and the speed with which you do it. Is that, like, what did you study at university? Have you got a background in languages, or how did you come about? How did you be so good?
Yeah, actually, that one is my just master degree, but I have a BA in food and nutrition.
Do you?
Yeah, area. So actually, But I think that's quite common to Korean students. I had no choice to choose my major. It's because I had to find the university just depending on my exam result.
But you chose to do a master's in interpretation or language?
That's correct. The reason why I chose that one is because even I choose, my BA for food and nutrition.
Sure.
I really enjoyed learning English.
Yes.
So I continue to study English actually.
Still doing it now?
Not now, but when I was young, But when I was young, as soon as I graduated from high school, I just got English, language course to improve my English. Because even I had the English lesson in high school and middle school, it wasn't enough.
No.
So I was just able to read English, but I couldn't understand what people say or cannot really.
Did you travel into an English-speaking environment? Like, did you go into English-speaking countries, or did you just learn it within this country?
from the beginning, I just have learned English for in the university for 2 years or 3 years, and then I took an opportunity to travel around Europe for like 45 days.
Wow!
And it's not a good thing, but I remember that I put on weight like 15 kilogram only for 45 days because I enjoy eating a lot of different food. Because it was my first time to, go abroad. So.
Well, if I go back to your English is phenomenal, and I certainly hugely appreciate the fact that you can be in an environment here with a lot of Korean families, and your ability to translate for them is terrific, and it's been really nice to have a conversation with you. I think it's part of these podcasts is for the community to understand the people that make this big machine work, and you're a very, very important and valuable part of that of this machine. So, SeungMi, it's been great.
Thank you.
So we're recording now. Okay. I've been speaking with people from all over this wide world, and of course we've head down to the Southern Hemisphere once before when I spoke to Mr. Kruger, but I'm heading down to a different part of the Southern Hemisphere. Some would say the greatest part of the Southern Hemisphere. Yep. And would you say that?
Well, it's the centre of the universe.
Well, I'm talking to Mr. Young, of course. I'm curious as to why you believe it's the centre of the universe, Mr. Young.
Well, it reminds me, talking about this, it reminds me of the maps that we use back home, and you probably have some of these as well, that the maps that we use in geography, they actually have the Southern Hemisphere at the top.
Correct.
And the Northern Hemisphere at the bottom.
Correct.
Because no one should really, there's no rule that says one has to be up.
I know.
It all depends where you're standing. If you're standing in the Southern Hemisphere, then you're up. Right?
Does that put you at the top of the world?
We'll put us at the top of the world.
Sorry, the long white cloud, is it?
The land of the long
the land of the long white cloud. I was almost there. Aotearoa, New Zealand for those uninformed. New Zealand. I mean, the rivalry between Australia and New Zealand is intense, but it's built on great respect.
Yes,
and it's built on great friendship.
Yep.
Over many, many years. So you may hear us, bantering from time to time because I'm from Australia and Mr. Young's from New Zealand, but it's absolutely done with the greatest of respect because I think, is it fair to say there's a great connection between the countries?
Definitely. And it can be echoed only just recently on the 21st of April, which was Anzac Day, which we kind of missed it a little bit because we were very busy.
And it was a Sunday.
And it's a Sunday. But normally I would be getting up for dawn service, as you would.
Yes.
And we would be there with our,
Anzac,
with our badges on.
We would. Explain Anzac. What is
It's the Australia-New Zealand Army Corps.
Yep.
And it's to commemorate losses in the world wars that happened previously. And Gallipoli gets special mention in that because of the tragedy that happened there.
It does. And
in particular with large numbers of New Zealand and Australian services.
Correct. And I think, to be honest, that's a huge part of where that really strong bond between the countries, started. It's not the only, but that strong connection between the countries. So, but it's anyway. We should.
Plus, also, there's 1 million New Zealanders living in
That's
Australia.
right. Not quite,
which is a significant number.
That's true. That's true.
I'm reminded of that there's a very large volume of a book in the library that's always on the desk whenever I walk into the library. And for some reason, you know what it is. Can you tell everybody?
What is it, the book on Australian cricket?
Yes.
I don't know how it gets there.
But I've been there with Post-it notes and I've bookmarked the key pages that talk about New Zealand's victory. So you'll be covered.
There'll be a few and far between. But anyhow, that's that we could digress to other areas. But Mr. Young, you've been at the school here for a while.
This is my 10th year.
10th? Wow. Okay. And you've had a variety of roles while you've been in the school. What sort of roles have you been sort of?
Well, I came in as a design and art teacher.
That's right.
And I've coached teams while I've been here earlier on, not so much recently. And but I moved into the art department. I'm teaching that now.
Yep.
Pretty much fully. I think I'm doing a little bit of design next year.
You are. Told me. That's correct.
But I kind of like design and art. They kind of work together well for me. There's a lot of a connection there, even though they're different disciplines with the IB. But yeah, I like to sort of be creative and make things and do things.
But I think that's coming out even in the other project which you've been working on for the last couple of years.
Yeah, which is the yearbook.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Which is like, I'm immersed in that at the moment.
Yeah. But I mean, that gives you that opportunity where you can design the layout and those sorts of things, as well as be creative with the use of the photos and images and those things.
So I try and incorporate some creative, unique difference into into what is a design project, really, essentially. I mean, the yearbook is a graphic design project. But and design and art, it's similar. Like design is a creative process. So when I talk about art, what criteria C, if we're talking about the curriculum, is creative thinking. And what we like to see, what we need to see there within the strands of that is creative thinking behaviours. And design, the process, is a creative thinking behaviour. There are a number of other different ones as well. Of course. So I incorporate a design process element into art as well, because
but what I think
structured. It gives students an ability to understand how to be creative rather than this nefarious pulling ideas out of the air of being brilliant.
Yeah, but what I do see, and I was just looking at the past copies of the yearbook, and they are different every year. Either it's got a different theme or a different structure or a different layout, which is terrific. So you're not necessarily just sticking with a working formula. You are prepared to
which would
take
be an
risks.
easy thing to do.
It would be, but you're prepared to take risks.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's right. So,
depending on the year and the product and what you'd like to see at the end. Which is terrific. So,
well, it's like you want to keep people engaged, right?
Yeah,
they see the same thing. Sure, we could produce a document that would be an accurate document of what goes on in school, but the big thing with the yearbook is trying to actually have things and images and activities in there to represent what students are doing.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the breadth of it, and also the positive elements that we're doing here as well,
which is evident. I mean, when you actually see it, but. Look, Mr. Young, it's been good to touch base. I mean, we could talk for hours. I mean, we're only just sort of scratching the surface. I didn't even get into some of the other things I wanted to find out about. Well, I wanted to talk about, maybe this is for another day, just how you end up being a teacher. But that could be another whole topic of conversation, which is really interesting, because I've had that question and conversation with many of the other people I've spoken to in interview. But we'll save it for another time.
Yes,
Mr. Young?
Good to use this spot as an advertisement for the yearbook.
Absolutely.
Come and watch the space.
It's been good talking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roland.
As I do every week, I try and have wonderful conversations with people about who they are, what makes them tick, and I spend a lot of time talking with teachers and other staff members in the school. And I really enjoy having conversations with students. And here I have Mr. Joe McCloskey.
Hello.
Hi, Joe. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Joe, you've been at the school now for how long?
This is my second year here.
And where were you before you came and joined us?
I was in India for 5 years.
Wow. Tell me, whereabouts in India?
Bangalore.
Right. Tell me and the listeners, Bangalore, what's it like? What's it like to be in India?
It's incredible. It's really nice there. The weather's much more different than it is to Korea.
How's it different?
Well, the seasons are different.
Yeah.
So in Korea, you have the set seasons. It's similar to Europe, the seasons.
Yes. Yep.
But the seasons in India work entirely differently. There's the cold and warm areas, you have the dry season, and then you also have like the harvesting seasons.
Okay.
But it's like the seasons work around like different aspects to what the seasons work around here.
Yeah. And when you say seasons, so in Bangalore, did you have the traditional 4 seasons, or was it really that different?
It wasn't too different, but it definitely varies to what it's like here in Korea.
And what was it like living day-to-day life in Bangalore? I mean, how does it compare to maybe your day-to-day life here in Korea?
My day-to-day life here in Korea, Bangalore is so much easier to go outside and stuff. There's a lot more nature than in Korea.
Oh, okay. Wow. And did you enjoy your time in India? Is it something you look back with fond memories, or is it like, oh, I'm glad I left? Or how did you feel when you left?
Completely fond memories. I was very disappointed when I left.
Yeah, of course.
Very happy there.
Of course. Why? Because you had connections or friends? Or
I had friends, but the community that we lived in was brilliant. There was a swimming pool there, which is incredible.
Well, we'll try and get one of those, Joe. Okay. And so all of a sudden you've ended up in Korea. How have you found that transition going from India, which is very, very different, to Korea? How have you found the transition?
Initially, it was quite difficult because in India, we lived in a city, but it was a lot more rural than it is here. Like the city that we live in, Busan, there's skyscrapers everywhere. And that was a really big transition for me.
Okay.
To go to find like a natural spot, you have to really search for one.
Yes. Yeah.
So looking for beauty in places is something I've learned to do.
Okay. And when you say, skyscrapers in Busan, what was the tallest building sort of in Bangalore where you were, that you were sort of used to seeing?
Well, if we drove into the city, because we were on the outskirts of the city of Bangalore, if you drove into the city, the buildings would get quite big.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's a big city. But when we were on the outskirts of the city, the buildings were they were still really tall, but most of the tall ones were apartment buildings and stuff.
Right.
They weren't really skyscrapers.
Okay. And so the sorts of things that you can do here, are they different from what you could do in India? I mean, this is a very safe country. Did you feel the same when you were in India?
Yeah, completely.
Okay.
I think the biggest part about my adventures in Busan compared to Bangalore is the setting. Like in India, we were in a landlocked state.
Okay.
And so to go to the beach, you had to fly.
Right. Okay. Yes. Well, you don't have to worry about that here, do you?
No, I live on the beach here. So.
No, that's brilliant. And here you can obviously see a lot of water, and you're surrounded by water, given where we are.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wasn't the case when you were in Bangalore.
It wasn't salt water, and you couldn't really go swimming as much. There were like private lakes in areas, and like natural parks and stuff.
Yes.
And you could go to those, and you could swim in them if you wanted to.
Okay.
And it's not the same as going to the beach, though.
No. Okay. Well, that's been cool. Joe, I know we've only scratched the surface of your experiences in India and Korea, but it's been really nice to catch up and have a chat.
Yeah, thank you.
Good on you. Thanks, Joe.